Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna actually make a little bit of a different video. Today we're gonna make a tier list here today. This is something that I actually did around like a year ago as well already for certain topics, but I kind of want to bring it back as like something like a tier list Tuesday. If you enjoy the idea and if you want to see some more variety content for Pokemon Go, especially towards PvP like this video today, leave a like on the video. And also, if you have any idea for the next tier list Tuesday, definitely write it in the description, whatever, or like description into the comment section, of course, whatever gets the most amount of upwards and is related to Pokemon Go, we're gonna make. So if you want, for example, elite charge TMs for Great League, for example, I would split it up for the leagues definitely, then write in the comment section. That's kind of something that you can do here if you want to have something specific. But let's go right into the tier list today. We're going to now take a look at the top Pokemon, or like in general the Pokemon with an elite fast move that you can only get through an elite TM. So we're going to start right now with a must-have Pokemon already, which is going to be the Alolan Sandslash. Alolan Sandslash has access to the move Shadow Claw, giving it a very great coverage for most Pokemon. While, of course, it learns Powder Snow, which is also a very decent fast move, which is also Stab. Shadow Claw usually is a little bit superior and helps out in quite a lot of matchups, especially for the Shadow variant of this Pokemon. So in my opinion, this is a must-have, but it's also really cool to have one that has Powder Snow as well next to it, but it's a very strong Pokemon with Shadow Claw, and usually Shadow Claw is preferred. We're going to have now, next one, a Community Day Pokemon. We're going to have Alakazam here, and Alakazam is a very squishy Pokemon. It even can be Shadow, and so it does a lot of damage, but also cannot really take that much, which really limits its usage. And so we're going to put it into the Spice and Limited meta. Learns the fast move counter as a Community Day move. Very strong fast move in general, but for this Pokemon itself, I bet they are going to be better uses. Same for Bug Bite variant of Beedrill. This Pokemon gets Bug Bite, which is actually a one-turn fast move, which is mid-tier for Bug-type moves, but can be fairly decent for limited metas, because you're going to now do damage as a Bug-type instead of like Poison moves, and this can be actually kind of crucial for some matchups, so maybe this helps out this Pokemon in some metas, but it's not really the best one. Usually Poison Jab is preferred. Also, what usually is preferred is going to be Bullet Seed, not Bullet Seed on the Shiftry. Bullet Seed is a Snarl clone, and Snarl it learns on its own. Also, Grass is not really the best offensive typing, so usually the Dark type move Snarl is preferred for Shiftry. So again, Bullet Seed is a move that you can have as well, but you don't really need it, and Shiftry itself sadly doesn't really get as much use. What is nice to have though is a Bullet Seed variant of the Roserade. Roserade going to get a ton of energy with this one, but it's again kinda depending on what you really have as a meta as well, but it's nice to have the Bullet Seed variant as well. You either want Bullet Seed or Poison Jab. Both of them are very great fast moves depending on the meta. Bullet Seed generates energy a little bit faster, while Poison Jab is a 2-turn fast move, which is usually preferred, as well as it doing more damage. So next Pokemon is going to be one of the Community Day Pokemon, which is going to come up in like 2 weeks or something. We're going to have counter variant of Polirwrath. And this Pokemon, if you saw my video about it already, it is very decent. It's definitely more important to have this one with counter than, for example, the Roserade. It's very nice to have. I don't think it's going to be a meta breaker. I don't think it's going to be like something that is super common in the Go Battle League as well. I bet actually that the Politoad is going to be more common than the Poliwrath, as Politoad has just more potential on its own, but still, counter makes this Pokemon very strong, especially as a Shadow variant, so it's either nice to have or a must-have. But like, honestly, you have the Community Day coming up, definitely try to play there. I'm just gonna put it here because you don't know exactly how good it is in the meta right now. It also already has Mud Shot, which is a decent alternative as well, just doesn't do as much damage, but generates energy way faster, so that's for that. Next Pokemon is, in my opinion, kinda actually nowadays a must-have. This Pokemon kinda rose up out of nothing. It's Ember Ninetales, Ember Shadow Ninetales here. Used it myself as well in tournaments already. This Pokemon is really underrated. It's a must-have in like the lower tier. You can also still run the Fire Spin fast move, of course, but Ember is, in my opinion, just a little bit better. Allowing you also to just do so much damage. If you just look at the standard meta, you can beat Noctowl, you can beat Medicham, you can beat all the Steel-type Pokemon. This Pokemon actually has way more potential than a lot of people think, and I might want to make a video about this Pokemon again in the Open Great League as well, just because it's really, really strong. It's definitely worth it to have. What is not worth it to have, and our first Pokemon for now, is a Lick Gengar. This Pokemon learns Lick, and it is definitely not something that you really want to have on this Pokemon. Shadow Claw is just better. So yeah, it's not really ideal. Speaking of not really ideal, is also a Gust variant of Staraptor. This is a Community Day move. It was better when it first got released, but it does more damage as a confusion clone, basically, as a flying type. It does more damage than Wing Attack, but since Wing Attack got buffed in between that, Wing Attack is definitely preferred for this Pokemon, like by a mile. But unlike Pidgeot, where I would say it's just a no, at least the at least the Staraptor here has some potential there, which is very nice with Gust, because you're going to do a little bit more damage, especially as a Shadow variant, while Pidgeot is more of a bulky Pokemon, and for that reason you kind of want to have, definitely a must-have, the Wing Attack variant of Pidgeot is so strong in the Great as well in the Ultra League. Both of them are really decent, and you kind of really want to have both of them as well, so definitely something that, yeah, is going to be something that you want to have. Unlike the Gust, you really want to have Wing Attack. It's also a legacy move as far as I know, at least. So definitely something that you want to get. What you maybe want to get is Dragon Tail and Gyarados. I'm gonna put it to like Spice Limited Metas. It doesn't really fit to either of them because it already has Dragon Breath. And Dragon Breath is usually a little bit preferred, even though Dragon Tail has better stats. But like, you can have it, or maybe it's more like a nice to have. I think for a nice to have, it's like more of a fit here. Definitely not as nice to have as counter Polirwrath, because here you can already just run Dragon Breath and you're going to have a similar result. So definitely something decent. Something decent as well is going to be Ice Shard variant of Lapras. This Pokemon has a lot of play in a lot of limited metas, but also in the open meta already. So this is also a little bit more usable than, for example, the Gyarados here. So that's definitely something that you kind of want to have more than that. Also here I can maybe change the order a little bit. Counter's definitely better than the Bug Bite there. But Ice Shard Lapras is definitely the way to go for this Pokemon, having access to Surf, as well as Legacy Ice Beam, which you might be put into the charge move tier list if you want to have this. Going to be very decent for this Pokemon, but let's move on. We're going to have, honestly, I have to put like also Repeaters around. Water Gun. Yeah, Feraligatr here. This Pokemon already learns Water Fall, which is kind of similar. Water Gun is most likely preferred, but you also have Ice Fang. But this Pokemon just needs Shadow Claw, to be fair. So I'm pretty sure that this Pokemon ever gonna get Shadow Claw eventually. But right now, Water Gun is a legacy move that you don't really need, to be fair. Speaking of something that kinda lost its potential, back in the day, this Pokemon would have been completely on top of everything. Must have Incinerate variant of Talonflame. Nowadays, it's just nice to have, because there's a different Pokemon, which you're going to talk about afterwards now, that is just completely the same typing, and it's just better. Speaking of course, we're going to talk about here right now about Charizard, and there are actually 3 fast moves that you can have here, which are all legacy, which is kinda wild. And you're going to have first Dragon Breath, which is in my opinion nice to have, most likely somewhere around like the area, like, yeah, maybe here in the back, as Dragon Breath is going to, I mean, it's a little bit more of an upgrade compared to like Dragon Tail here, but Dragon Breath is going to give you some more interesting matchups. I recently thought about using Dragon Breath in a cup that was recently there, I think it was the Retro Cup, where a lot of players played all the Dragon-type Pokemon. For that kind of metas, it's kind of nice to have. Ember itself, though, is more like something like Gust as well, where you have already Fire Spin, and unlike the Ninetales, you don't have Fire Step on your fast charge move, which is like, yeah, Dragon Claw, which doesn't do as much damage. So you don't really want to have the Ember variant of this one, while Ember on the Ninetales is really nice. On this Pokemon, it doesn't really make too much sense. And yeah, it is sometimes fun. You can actually beat quite a lot of Pokemon that you couldn't beat otherwise with it, but you also lose a lot of matchups. So Ember on the Charizard is most likely not ideal. What is definitely ideal, and in my opinion, most likely the best charge move TM that you can put in here, I would actually put this one above this one as well. The Ring Attack Charizard, especially as a Shadow variant, but also as a normal variant, both in Great as well as in Ultra League, one of the strongest Pokemon ever. And you definitely want to have this one. This Pokemon is just raining this thing here. Like, I don't think there's going to be anything. Maybe there's something that's still going to be above it, but it's definitely something that I really want to have. And yeah, let's take a look at the next one. We're going to have here, currently, I feel like it's going to change eventually, but I would just put them, I actually would put you as nice to have, because you were actually able to get Karate Chop recently during a Go Battle Day for the Primeape. It's going to be a light counter, a fighting type fast move, but it generates energy a little bit faster. I think it's a Wing Attack clone as far as I know. But counter is just a better fast move for this Pokemon usually, While the extra energy generation is of course very nice, the extra damage output from counter you just cannot really compensate with this move here. And same goes for Machamp. And for Machamp I feel like it's even worse because Machamp, I don't know, actually, like I tried Karate Chop Primate already, but I feel like because Machamp is already Shadow, usually when you play, you don't really want to have Karate Chop on this one here. So at least at the current time it's more like Spice, because it does help this Pokemon to generate more energy, unlike for example here Lick, but it's not really ideal in my opinion. Speaking of some Spice, which I actually have for the Ultra League and have a lot of fun with, but of course it's basically around like the area of Alakazam, it's going to be Mudshot variant of Kingler. Very cool Pokemon, going to generate a ton of energy, having Crab Hammer as well as X-Scissor as charge moves going to help this Pokemon out quite a bit, especially Crab Hammer is a very strong charge move. X-Scissor hopefully gonna get buffed eventually, kinda deserves a buff, but definitely interesting there. Next Pokemon here going to be one of the must-haves for sure. The Walrein, still one of the strongest Pokemon for the Ultra League, but also still very strong for the Great League. Most likely somewhere here around as well. Like must-have, of course, don't really, like all of them are very strong. You really want to have all of them around. Definitely build those if you can. As we're gonna move on to the next one. It's more like a spicy one because it's just worse than its evolution, which is going to be the Weeping Bell. Has a higher attack stat than the Victory Bell, but it just doesn't have the charge move coverage here. You're going to have Seed Bomb instead of Leaf Blade, which recently got nerfed again. Like the Seed Bomb is now worse, so like this Pokemon is worse. I actually would put it even lower than now. And you don't have Acid Spray as far as I know. So this Pokemon, while it has a higher attack stat, which is kind of nice for Shadow Razor Leafer, it just doesn't have the charge move coverage of its evolution. So, and also you need to fully excel it or something. Like you need a ton of Stardust to build it. It's not really ideal. What is also not really ideal nowadays, but it's still at least nice to have, is a rollout variant of the Golem. I wouldn't really recommend you to go ahead and go for an Elite Fast TM for rollout on this Pokemon, to be fair. Especially since they nerfed it afterwards, it's not really ideal. Like rollout was an interesting move before, like they buffed it then with attack, but they nerfed the energy gain from this move, and so right now it is just not really worth it. Like Ward Switch is just so much better in so many different ways that rollout really like lags behind. And if you need some coverage for like the fast, like for rock types or whatever, there's different. I think it has like Rock Throw or something, so like it's really not really needed here. What is honestly, in my opinion, really nice to have, and not really spice, and like okay, it is spice, but I really think it's very nice to have, is Smackdown Tyranitar as a Shadow variant for the Great League. There are always quite some cups where this Pokemon is nice, and just the typing itself makes this Pokemon very interesting, because you're going to be able to beat Noctowl, you can be able to beat the Sableye. There are a lot of Pokemon that are really weak to like Rock-type Pokemon in general, but also especially with like Dark-typing together. Of course, you're double weak to Counter, which is kind of awkward, but I actually have a lot of fun even in the open meta with it. And then there's the Halloween Cup where it's really strong, and I would actually imagine that Smackdown Shadow Tyranitar is also very decent in the Open Master League, because there are a lot of flying type Pokemon around. So definitely something that I would at least consider as nice to have. But also, you know what's also very nice to have is the Poison Jab variant of Seeking. Definitely the best picture ever of Seeking here, by the way. I would put it actually around here, a little bit below Lapras, because you need still Icy Wind and also Durarun as charge moves, which are all legacy. This is a triple legacy Pokemon, so it is something that is a little bit expensive to build because of all the legacy moves, but it's definitely an interesting Pokemon to play. It's a fun one. It is not the best ever, but it has especially uses in like restricted metas, and a lot of people get caught off guard by this one. Sadly, it doesn't have any stab move really right now, so maybe there's going to be something in the future, but not really. Icy Wind, Durarun, and Poison Jab though give you great coverage, so this Pokemon is a very good save swap. And yeah, not much to say about this. Something that I would say is, yeah, more like Spice as well again. There's going to be the Water Gun variant of the Kingdra here. Most likely even a little bit above here, maybe even top of it, because I mean you're going to have some metas maybe where Water Gun might be a little bit better on it. You have Dragon Breath though, and like you also have Waterfall, but Water Gun I would still put a little bit about Waterfall, but you kind of don't really need it. Like Dragon Breath is the better fast move on this Pokemon. Usually in restricted metas maybe you can do it. It's not a bad move, but it's also not really needed, so we're gonna put it there. And something for the last one here, now we're going to have the Zapdos, and this is a Pokemon that I definitely would put up into a high nice to have, most likely even better than Talonflame right now. I would actually put Talonflame a little bit lower than what it is here right now, because just Talonflame, it's just not really the best one anymore. Like, as long as you have a Charizard, Charizard is just a better Talonflame right now, so definitely interesting if Talonflame can still do something. Maybe I'm going to take a look at this Pokemon again as well. But Charizard right now is definitely the best Pokemon to have for the Elite Fast here, which is going to be Wing Attack. And yeah, this is going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, as said before. Go into the comment section, write whatever you want to have next as a tier list here for Pokemon. Vote it up if you see something that you are interested in. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if it was helpful for you, please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.